We're inspecting HVAC at a multi-tenant, multi-occupant office space. There's two different approaches you can take when inspecting an HVAC system. One is going to be I'm by myself, which is very common. In that approach, I'm going to come up on the roof and start inspecting the condition of each unit and gathering data plate information and perform a CommSop inspection of this section. Because this is a split system, I'm then going to go down into the occupancy when I'm all done up here, and each occupancy I'm going to have to check the units in there as well. The other approach is as a team. We can have portable radios, we can have inspectors up here getting data plate information, getting condition, performing the CommSop inspection here, and then other inspectors down in the units. We can be communicating back and forth via portable radio on when we're turning units on and off, and be listening for condition of the fan, etc. So there's a couple different approaches we can take here. So we've talked about a couple different approaches while inspecting HVAC up on a roof. What I want to talk about now is some CommSop requirements that we want to make sure we're finding and notating in our report. Labeling is very important, and it is listed in the CommSop under cooling that we would want these service disconnects to be labeled to correlate with each unit so that they could be shut off and safe maintenance and repair could be performed. I don't see legible labeling here, so I'm going to make a note in my report that that should be taken care of. I also am going to inspect this like an electrical system. Do I see any openings? I have loose pedestal. I have rotting wood that's holding these things together. I also have a loose panel here. We want to look for clearance, just like any other electrical system, the 30, 36 by 78. These are all important things. Another CommSop thing I'm not seeing here in my immediate view is a service receptacle. That would be something I want to notate in my report, that I can't find a GFI protected service receptacle. So these are things we're looking at here in the CommSop inspection of HVAC systems. All right, we've talked about approach. We've talked about some CommSop requirements we want to include in our report. Let's talk about inspection of the actual condenser unit here. Again, split system unit, a lot of things to look for here. First thing I'm going to do is gather the data plate information. I'm looking at age, brand, tonnage. These are some things I want to understand and include in my report. But I would also look at here's some defective conditions or some issues here. You can see our insulation has fallen off of our refrigerant lines. That's going to cause a significant issue with efficiency. We have an opening here in this conduit. Be careful, always have your non-contact with you. These are some things I would talk about. I also would report on this being out of level, and I carry a small speed level with me just to take a nice photo of that, include that in my report. I've talked about how we're going to inspect each unit individually. There's 25 units on this roof. I'm going to go and perform the exact same routine I just showed you, and we're going to get, again, data plate info and condition of each unit as we go. I'd like to highlight now what I found and a few issues that I found while inspecting each of these 25 units. Here we actually have refrigerant line touching conduit, which would be two dissimilar metals. That would be something we'd want to include in our report. Here we have conduit running to each unit from our service disconnects. And here we have that it fell, you can actually see that it fell off of its support, and it actually caused an opening in the next connector, which is an electrical defect and something we would definitely want to notate in our report. We found multiple units that were out of level. Now, it's not a requirement to carry a speed level. I like to have one, and it might be a good idea for this purpose, and it makes for a good photo. But you can see this is significantly out of level. This does have a compressor. It's a small motor in here that has oil that circulates, and if it's out of level, there could be components not being oiled properly. So this is a defect that we would like to include in our report. I've made it to the other side of the roof. I've inspected about 20 units, 20 air conditioning units, and I finally found a service receptacle. I'm going to want to test this with my GFI tester, my receptacle tester. It is a GFI receptacle. I did test it. It did trip. I reset it, and this is now in serviceable condition. I've completed my HVAC system inspection here on the roof. Now let's talk a little bit about reporting. We want to include a schedule in our report that defines each unit's age, brand, size, as well as the area that it services within the building. This schedule is going to be very important for the use of our client. One of the things that makes it so important is the age. These have an expected useful life. In my area, that's about 12 to 15 years. You would want to know the expected useful life of these systems in your area, so you can include that in your report. From a larger scale view, the client wants to know how many of these would be beyond their useful life and need replacement. That's something we're going to make them aware of in our report and educate them on. This is the routine we would use to inspect split systems on the roof of an HVAC system. Know your routine, stick to it, so that when you have 25 to 30 units, it's always the same and you know what you're looking for. So remember, with split system HVAC, we have a condenser outside or on the roof, and then we have our air handler here. Sometimes this could be a furnace as well, but it's going to have our evaporative coils coming from our condenser, our refrigerant lines. We have a decent amount to look at here. After we've done that portion of our inspection and we've got the condition of the condensers, we've gotten everything we need to be put into our HVAC schedule, we want to come here as well. This is the second portion of that same inspection. So now we're looking at this air handler. We want to make sure it's the same manufacturer as well as the same date and size capacity, because it has to be compatible with the unit that's outside. We also want to take a look at our condensation lines. It actually turns to copper over here. We recommend that these do be copper. It doesn't have to be, but this has a safety switch, but it doesn't have a catch pan. That would be something we'd want to recommend be added to this, so that if any issues with this condensation system started to happen, it would catch in the secondary and then be diverted to the exterior. We're looking at the insulation on the refrigerant lines. That looks like it's in good shape. And then we're looking for the way the plenums connect and the distribution and all the ductwork. While we're up here above T-bar too, we can be looking at the structure. We can be looking at electrical. So there's a lot we can see while we're up here anyways. But right now, just focusing on this unit, we want to make sure we get all the information from this, the condition, and then document that. So again, split systems, we have part of the unit either outside or on the roof, and then the other portion of the system is going to be inside in either a cabinet or above T-bar or in an attic space. Make sure you locate all of them. Make sure you ensure the condition and document everything that you're finding here. And then again, create that schedule so that it has all the information that your client's going to need in one place.